Welcome to this training explainer. Today, we're breaking down the exact standard operating procedure for writing a completely bulletproof chart note. Whether you've been an orthodontic assistant for years or you're brand new to the clinic floor, mastering this is absolutely vital. Why? Because a flawless chart note empowers you to protect the patient, the doctor, and honestly, yourself. Let's dive right in and get your documentation airtight.
We're starting off with this quote because it really hits on the ultimate stakes of this SOP. Your chart note is the single, solitary record of a patient interaction. Think about that for a second. If it's incomplete, vague, or missing, that info is just gone. Poof. No one, not the doc, not the next assistant, not even a future version of you, can piece together what actually occurred. Every single note has to stand on its own, so any team member knows exactly what happened and what comes next without having to hunt someone down in the hallway to ask.
To get this down to absolute muscle memory, we're going to walk chronologically right through a typical patient visit. We'll hit the purpose and critical requirements, what to do before you write, the anatomy of the note itself, note types and phone calls, timing and dismissal, and finally, approved abbreviations. Let's get right into it.
Phase 1. Purpose and critical requirements. When does this actually apply, and what is the biggest trap you need to avoid?
So here is a huge pitfall, the absolute most commonly missed chart note. It's for that minor unscheduled fix on a day the doctor isn't even in the office. You know the ones: a quick wire poke, a simple comfort check, maybe just dabbing a little glue on a bracket. Listen, every single patient interaction requires a note, no exceptions whatsoever. If a patient sat in that chair, you have to write it up, period.
Moving to phase 2, before you write. Picture this: your patient is seated and ready to go. But wait, before your fingers even touch that keyboard to start drafting, there is a crucial chairside step.
You've got to meticulously update that patient's tooth chart before calling the doctor over. Did a primary tooth fall out? Remove it from the chart. Extracted teeth? Mark them. Added new brackets? Make sure the torque is perfectly recorded. And this is a big one: the elastics in their mouth need to exactly match what's on the screen. The doctor relies completely on this visual. If the chart says one thing and the patient's mouth says another, it creates instant confusion and, honestly, it just slows everyone down.
All right, phase 3, anatomy of a chart note. The chart's updated, the exam is happening. Let's dissect the note itself.
Every single solid note is built on 4 very specific pillars. First up, patient reports. That's the subjective stuff, what they're telling you in their own words. Second, doctor findings, the objective reality, clinical observations, hygiene, wire fit. Third is doctor recommends, which covers the assessment and treatment decisions. And fourth, today's visit, which you literally just did and the exact materials you used. The golden rule here: don't mix them up. If you're tempted to just dump everything into today's visit, take a breath and sort those details back into their proper buckets.
Now, there is one super important exception for that first section: the patient reports. If you're working with a little kid or someone with a communication barrier who can't really report their own symptoms, you got to use the parent or guardian statement. But here's the kicker: you must clearly label it per parent right there in the text. We can never have someone down the road mistaking mom's words for the patient's own experience. Accuracy is everything.
Okay, but what about those quick assistant-only emergency visits we talked about earlier? The ones where the doc doesn't even do an exam. Well, you still can't just leave the objective and assessment sections blank. Luckily, the SOP gives us the exact cheat codes for this. You literally just write, "No doctor exam performed this visit" for findings, and "no change to active treatment plan" for recommends. Boom. It proves you didn't forget to fill it out, you're just clearly defining the boundaries of that exact visit.
Tacked right on to those 4 core sections is the next visit segment. Think of this like a flawless 3-step logic puzzle you're leaving for the next assistant, so they don't have to play guessing games. It always lays out: 1, what specific clinical criteria are we checking for? 2, what's the move if that criteria is met? And 3, what is the backup plan if it isn't? So check rotations. If they're gone, advance the wire. If they're still there, metal tie them. Super clear, right? But pay close attention to this next part: the escalation rule. If that backup plan we just talked about was already tried at their last visit and the patient comes in today with the exact same issue, stop. Do not just copy-paste the same failed instruction again. We have to break that cycle. Escalate the issue straight to a supervisor or the doctor. That is how we protect the patient's treatment timeline from getting derailed. Next up, phase 4, note types and phone calls. The skeleton stays the same, but the wrapper changes. You have a whole drop-down menu of note types to pick from: general or emergency for those minor fixes, adjustment for your standard visits, pan and rex for when you're snapping photos for repositioning, and so on. Selecting the precise type is crucial because each one triggers specific fields and drop-downs that you're going to need for that exact appointment.
So what if the patient isn't even in the office but they're on the phone? Yep, phone calls are 100% patient interactions, which means we document them. But we do it a little differently. You log these over in the notepad section, not the main clinical chart. You don't need that formal 4-part structure here. Just use a really simple, highly effective format. Who called, why did they call, and what was the outcome? Quick, simple, and most importantly, on the record.
All right, Phase 5, timing and dismissal. The clinical work is done, your note is drafted. Let's talk about those final, crucial seconds.
Look, best case scenario, you finish the entire note before the patient even stands up. But we all know clinics get crazy busy. So at an absolute bare minimum before you dismiss them, you have to hit 3 things. Pop in the next appointment code, enter the number of weeks until their next visit, and hit save. Do that, and the front desk knows exactly how to schedule them before they hit the door.
Now, if you are running behind schedule, this rule is a literal lifesaver. You never want to leave the next patient just sitting out in the reception area waiting because you're catching up on typing. Bring them back, seat them behind a privacy screen. But, and this is a huge but, you absolutely cannot start their treatment or open a new clinical interaction until that previous note is perfectly finished and saved. It keeps the schedule flowing while keeping our documentation totally locked down. Finally, Phase 6, approved abbreviations. Let's talk about saving you some precious typing time. We highly encourage using shorthand to speed things up, but you've got to stick to the universally approved list. Things like AW for archwire, Ls for elastics, or PC for power chain. Using the standard list means anybody, the doctor, the front desk, your fellow assistants, can read your note instantly without needing some kind of secret decoder ring.
By the way, you never actually have to use abbreviations. Typing every word out in full is totally fine if that's your preference. But the golden rule is, if you are going to abbreviate, you cannot go rogue. Inventing your own personal shorthand is strictly off limits. Just stick exclusively to the practice's approved list.
I want to leave you with a final thought to take back to the clinic floor. If it isn't in your chart note, did the appointment even happen? From a clinical and a legal standpoint, the answer is just straight up no. By following this SOP, updating that tooth chart, keeping your section super clean, planning the next visit, and hitting save before moving on, you are making sure every patient's journey is perfectly protected and ready to go for next time. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and go chart with confidence.